Hello. Make sure the mic and everything's working, because it's only the second time that I'm using all this new equipment. So let me know if this is all working. Put something in the chat so that we can just double check things. Julius, big up. Connor, trust you're doing good. I'm doing good. How are you, Julius? Also saying let's go. So I'm assuming that means that you can see me and you can hear me, which is ideal. Everybody let me know if you're in the chat. We've got 15 people in here. Just type something quickly just so I know you're here, and drop a like as well, as we always try to do at the start of the video or the stream. And then I'll keep trying to sort of hit like targets as we go throughout, but it really does help, even just smashing the like button straight away, and then you can just forget about it and you can enjoy the stream, sit back, drop a few comments, we can go from there. Just quickly updated the tactics board to have a lot of the new names that we are expecting, or the squad essentially for this tournament. We're going to talk about the tournament in general to start with. We can talk about the team that I think is going to play today. Again, it'll be completely guesswork. So many players to pick from. We don't know rotation-wise, rest-wise, what we want to see. So it'll be interesting to hear everybody's thoughts. But thought I'd do a stream, obviously, in the midday to make sure that we've got this out before the game tonight. And then, obviously, from tonight, we'll have post-match things, preview towards Fluminense, and vice versa. We'll have a lot of stuff like that. Mullet saying, pencil art saying, let's go, Connor, big up. We back again. Let's go. Good to see you. Just wait and see if we get a few more people typing in the chat just to see who's here. Got 9 likes so far, so let's try double that, considering we've got double in the stream at the minute. Who's excited for tonight, though? Who is excited for the game tonight? I'm intrigued by who's excited for the game, because I'm very excited. Is it true FIFA makes teams field their strongest lineup? I don't think so, no. Because, I mean, if we look at the games yesterday, PSG fielded pretty much their entire 11. Let me just have a quick double check. I did watch the game. I'm just going to double check with the Atletico team. But that's also one of those games where they played Goncalo Ramos, but they also didn't have Usman or Barcola, I believe. I think they were both out. What about for Atletico, though? Atletico were pretty much at full strength as well, more or less. Like, I think, again, they were missing... Are they missing anyone? Jimenez, Molina. A few players didn't play. But I don't think that's true. I'd be surprised if it is. Don't get me wrong. I think they want it to be a competitive tournament. So, like, obviously, Bayern started strong, but Musiala was on the bench because of injury. I still think we'll start strong. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what I think is going to happen. But I am extremely excited for tonight, just because I think it's just nice in the summer. Like, and I do think this tournament will become actually quite prestigious, just because of what I think that sort of where we're at with everything and where I think we're going to go with this tournament. But I think because it's the first time, like, people don't know what to expect. And I think that's fair. So I think that's something to sort of look out for with it all. Where are we going with this? Right, need Sanchez gone ASAP. I mean, obviously, like he said yesterday in the press conference, he's going to be the number one. So it's going to just be down to whether we can sort of how we make that work from now on, I think. Whether we go back in for a Magnan or something from there, I'm not sure. But we'll have to see, because I think that's an interesting one for sure to keep an eye on at least. Hello, Connie. Yesterday in training, we didn't see Josh and Kunku, Giyu, and Anselmino. I'm looking forward to the game. I expect our B team to play. Yes, so I had Achimpong. I thought Achimpong might get a start, but I did see that. I saw that those guys weren't involved in one training session, but then apparently they were involved in a later training session because then they were pictured. So I'm not 100% sure whether it means they're unavailable. So that will be an interesting one to sort of look out for. But we're going to do our team in a minute. I'm just seeing. I want to gauge how excited people are for the game. I'm very excited. New kit, new players, cold. 100%. We've got Cold Palmer in his new 10 shirt. Got the Lap, Sugo, Santos. Hopefully get some minutes. Penders and Sarr as well, of course. I'd like to see George get some minutes as well. I think he should start, in my opinion, but we'll see. I'm keen to see how Chelsea does. They're out. Yeah, it's interesting. So let's start. Big up, Dan, by the way. Big up, Daniel Knight. Please do drop a like. I'm just going to leave that there now. please do drop a like to support the channel because it really does mean a lot. We've got 16 likes already. We've got 31 people in the building. So if we could rack that straight up to 30, that would be huge for the video, for the stream, everything like that. So keep your questions coming in. I'll keep going through them. But let's quickly just cover what I think this tournament is going to be like. Because I was watching the games yesterday. I was doing a bit of work on the PSG Atletico game. And I think something that's very sort of obvious, and I think a lot of people would know this anyway, is the heat level out there is huge. And we've seen it when we've had World Cups in, say, Qatar. It'll probably happen at the World Cup next year because that's in America as well. But at this level of heat, the ability to control the tempo and pick your moments is even more important. Now, that's even more important when you then double down and get to the point of, well, we're coming off the back of a huge season, a season that, if anything, we took more out of us at the end than maybe some other teams because we had more to play for and had to put in even more effort, if that makes sense, for that reason, and expend more energy. So the players are likely to be very, very tired. So I think the usage of a big squad throughout this tournament is important. And I also think the ability to control tempo and pick your moments. If you go all out and you're just going to gas, and I think PSG Atletico really showed that. Because PSG, they were patient, they held the ball, and for a large parts of the game, people could say that it was a bit boring because they were just holding onto the ball and just easily, just really slow tempo, moving the ball nicely, didn't look bothered almost, which is what a lot of people were saying online. But I think that's just the way that this tournament is going to have to play out in this heat. You have to pick those moments, and when they pick their moments, they picked through the team, picked through Atletico, and they scored their goals, and then they controlled the tempo, and they were the team that came out on top because of that. I think that's exactly the way Chelsea have to go in this game. So, or not in this game, in this tournament in general. So that's one thing I just sort of wanted to put out there, because if it's slow tempo tonight, I think people will sort of go straight to the idea of like it's very boring, and sort of like jump on that train because they want a 10-0 like the Bayern game, right? And I get it, goals are fun, right? But I think you've got to be somewhat realistic in how we're going to manage this tournament, considering the effect that it could also have on our next season if we don't manage the tournament effectively. So that's something I just wanted to put out there. Let's quickly just catch up. Big up Stella. Big up Stella. What is your prediction for Chelsea's first game of the season? Because Premier League fixtures coming out, I hope we get Leeds or Spurs. I think it would ideally we get some easy fixtures to start with so that we can really sort of ease the big boys back in. So Casado, Palmer, Enzo. We can sort of ease them back into their minutes. Cucurella as well, because of the amount he's been playing. That would be ideal. We can give them a long break. They still come in ready for the start of the Premier League season, but a bit like Rodri and Man City did last season. They're a little bit slower to get into the actual like swing of things. Maybe they're coming from the bench for the first few games, stuff like that. Do you think Jackson could play off the left and Delap through the middle? I think it's something that could be tried, but it's not ideal in my opinion. But again, in this tournament, we could see it because we've only really got George as the only right-footed left winger option. So, of course, Jackson is an option from that side, being a right footer. Do you think Jackson can play one of the eights? He could be our next Joelinton. I don't think he plays an 8. I mean, I get what you're trying to say in terms of a Marmoush being like a 10, like a shadow striker, but an 8 is too far because he's not brilliant at sort of like picking up that ball. He's good at picking up the ball and driving forward in the pockets. So like if he was receiving here and driving forward, I get it. But I think in terms of connecting play, I think it's not as intricate as you would like. And I think that could cause a few like turnovers in unwanted positions and areas, or like chaos where you don't want it. I think with Jackson, you want that chaos sort of in the final third. We really need a backup left back for Cucurella because he can't start every single game. We're going to talk about that as well, Daniel, because I absolutely agree. We're seeing, did you see Esteval last night? Yes, I watched all the games yesterday. Players who go midfield. Yes, we're going to talk about that. I think KDH will get sold in the summer. I actually have a feeling he might stay purely for like somebody who can play a bit in the 10, a bit in the 8. He was around last season. He clearly is willing to play somewhat of a bit part role because he's done that last season. We'll see. I think if an offer came in, it's one of those ones where I think he's not like he's not for sale. Like if a good offer comes in, odds are they try to sell him. But I don't think he is sold. Like I don't think he'll be pushed out the door. Casado has said that he is trying to show Santos Nasugo how he is as a professional and how he trains. Our young lads are turning into leaders. Exactly that. And I think Enzo's been doing that anyway. Casado is taking that on him. Reece, I've been really impressed with recently. Again, he's he's not like a vocal leader, but I think he's got he's starting to bring those leadership sort of levels around the camp, and it seems. And I really like that for him. Kukurea always leads by example. I've always said that. Colwill, I think he's got that leader energy in him as well. Chalobah. So it is really good to see like that those players they're aging up and they're scaling well, because obviously that was the whole sort of risk of this project, is these guys have to become the leaders to then make it effective in the long run, because then you have these guys leading the way and you'll have someone like Esteval, Paez, and they're coming in and they're going to be looking up to your Enzos, your Casados, so they have to lead. And then that knock-on effect, then we suddenly have our leaders, but it has to work in that way. How many midfielders do you think we need next season? I think 5. I think Enzo Casado, Asugo, Lavia, and Santos, and then plus KDH, I would say is a good group to have. I think it's unfortunate for Ugochukwu because I do like him. But again, I think he's one of those ones that if a bid comes in, I think they'll get rid. Are we ready to have a conversation about Reece James? Because for me, I don't think he starts in our best 11 unless we sign a left centre-back. I don't think it's that like black and white. I think it depends on how good fitness wise he can get, but he's always going to be in and around the team, always. Like he's too good his quality is too good. Let me just really quickly catch up with these few things. Casado inverted right back, we're going to talk about that. We'll finally get to see Nkunku plays a 10 when Palmer's rested, possibly, yeah. Prefer him to Kudus or Ekitike. I don't prefer him to those two purely because I think athletically Kudus and Ekitike have more than Nkunku to offer. But Nkunku, I think his time is done either way. But I definitely do think there's a player in there when he plays in his role. I just think it's unfortunate. I don't think he's ever really going to be. I don't think he's going to want to sit as Palmer's backup, even if he does do well throughout this tournament. But I obviously agree that that's his best position. Casado got to get some rest next season. He'll get burnt out 100%. I think Jackson will start tonight and then Delap in the second half. Right, let's talk about this because this is what I sort of wanted to speak about with the team. So for tonight, I would predict that I think Sanchez is going to start in goal. I think they're going to try and keep some continuity in goal. At the back, I have a feeling that we might see this pair almost a bit like the let's move Sar down here. A bit like the Conference League pair. I think we might see Tosin, Badiashile. I think we might see Reece start. And I think hopefully I would rest Kukurea and I'll play Gusto, wherever he is. Where's Gusto? There. I'd play him a left back. If Joshua Chempong was available, I was actually going to have him at right back, which may have sort of may have changed how I put in midfield, because in my head, now I don't think this is going to happen. I would like both of these players to get rested in this game. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason I want these two rested, along with Kukurea, and I'm going to say mainly those three, to be honest, is because I think already sick of the first name. What first name? Sanchez. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, everybody will be, but it's what to expect. We haven't signed a new keeper. And exactly like Kaz has said here, the way I see it is I think Flamengo is the hardest game of the group. I think they're going to come with the most intensity. They're going to try press us really high. So I think in that game, that's where you want Lavia, Enzo, and Casado. Okay, I think that's where you want to play those. And then again, they'll come from the bench even today. Like you can bring Enzo on for 20 minutes. You can bring players onto the game if you need them. But I think that's the game where you want to give them as much time as possible against Flamengo. And then in the last game, again, you sort of mix the minutes. And then the game after that, which will be the round of 16, should we get through, that's when obviously you start to play your strongest 11. So the middle game for me would be where you go all out and play like Enzo, Casado, and again, you're ready for the biggest game. So for this game, I would like to see both Enzo and Casado rested, with Asugo and Santos playing in the midfield. Now, that's a big reason as to why I want James to start in this team, because it gives that leadership. He can step up, Santos can sort of step up, and they can sort of form like a 3 in the middle here, like a little bit like that 3-3-4 that we've seen at times. But also Santos can push forward into that half space, a bit like Enzo does as well, and it can still create that this shape here too. Now, it would mean Gusto left centre-back on the ball, but again, I think we're going to be quite aggressive in this game, so I wouldn't be surprised either if you saw more of a sort of this shape, and then Santos and Palmer are sort of dropping in, being those like link players in the middle, and then you got these three nice and high up the pitch. That is how I'd start in there. Yes, I would start Palmer in this game, but don't get me wrong. Like, again, it's one of those ones where you could rest him, and I wouldn't be mad at resting him. But he didn't play the last England game, and I think you could bring him off after 60. I think it's just one of those things where if you maybe start Palmer and just try and get him clicking with people, like especially someone like the Lap, who I would also start in this game because, like I say, in the Fluminense game, I'd actually start Jackson, which is the game that I deem to be the toughest. I would start Jackson because he's most acclimatized already and he's ready to sort of go and he's already got pre-existing links in the team. So I would start the Lap in this game. Now, obviously, let me just preface, this is a guess. This is what I would do. And like you've said, you would not start James. And I get that, but that's because against Fluminense, I would start Casado at right back, inverting into right midfield, like into central midfield. And as you said, you would play Joss at right back. I said that as well, but apparently he wasn't in training yesterday, so I'm just unsure about what will happen. Who do you think will be back up for Cole Palmer next season? I think it'll probably be a mixture of a few things. It depends if we sign that left wing number 10 hybrid, then they'll probably play some minutes in there. Esteval as well will probably get some minutes in there if he needs to as a 10. And yeah, of course he did, yeah, which would be why it's good to get them clicking early doors, get them on the pitch together early. In terms of on the wings, I genuinely think it could be Madueke or Neto on the right, one or the other, but I would like to see Tyreek George start on the left. I think he deserves it. I think this is his chance. I'm going to put it as Madueke for now. I think this is his chance in this tournament to really sort of lay a foundation that he wants to be at the club next season, because for me, he should be getting a loan out and really sort of pushing on with those minutes, because if we sign someone like Gittins, he's going to be ahead of him in the pecking order. If we then get a left wing /10, they'll be ahead of him as well. And I do think he's had a brilliant season, and I would like to see him continue that development, because I think the sky is really, like, I think that limit, the potential limit is so high for George. But I think this tournament is a good marker for him to really sort of come into this tournament as the main left winger. And again, like, don't get me wrong, in the Flamengo game, it'll probably be Neto and Noni. But I would like him to start this game and the last game of the group stage and really just try and settle down that marker that he's here and he wants to sort of impress Maresca. And maybe Maresca ends up sticking with him for the next season, keeps him around, and he wants to actually use him a lot. Yeah, and I see what you're saying here, Derek. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. I'm just trying to sort of, this is how I would navigate the tournament. Because the Flamengo game for me is going to be the toughest, purely down to how I think that they're going to be out the blocks. They're going to be so intense with us. And I think we need to be able to play through that pressure against Flamengo. So I think the best, like Colwill, Lavia, Casado, Enzo, obviously Palmer again against Flamengo as well. I think they're all going to be so key against Flamengo to play through that pressure, especially someone like Lavia. So that's why I'm sort of going towards this team. You said you weren't impressed with Esteval last night. Am I harsh? I think it is harsh because I think you're expecting a lot from him early doors. I think what he did, I mean, he was subbed in the 60th minute. I think he was okay. I don't think he was anything special in that game. I think he had some clever moments where he sort of drifted inside really nicely, picked up the ball. He was often trying to be that sort of link to start those counter-attacks. He could have had a few extra moments, and again, he nearly scored. So nearly scored twice, really. So I think it was a good performance. I don't think it was special, but I think it was good. And I think that's something to take into account in the sense of he's still 18 and he was playing against Porto. It's a big step up in competition as well. So I thought I was happy with how he played. I wasn't disappointed. So on this same question, you're saying he was mid at best, but I like how he gets the ball and always tries to make something happen. Fans should expect a lot. I 100% agree. The pressure needs to be off him. Hi to Kaz as well. But the key thing in what you've said here, Kaz, or Kaz, because I've just called you Kaz, so he gets the ball and always tries to make things happen. And that is the key for a winger, for me. That's why I love Noni so much, even though I don't think the ceiling for Noni is as high as maybe some other people do for Noni. I think Noni has a ceiling to be a very effective player because he's direct and he will not let it affect him if he loses the ball. Whereas, say, Mudryk, that's something I always wanted him to develop, the goldfish trait is what I call it. because I think it's so important in wingers, and someone like Vinicius Jr. has it as well, and that's why he's so good, because 60% of the time what he tries won't come off, but people then don't remember that it didn't come off. There's two of you duplicating Kaz, yeah, for sure. It's going to be confusing if you two keep typing back and forth. But having that trait as a winger is so important, because, like I say, then you forget all the bad. Whereas if they do a few bad things, lose the ball, they fail a few actions, and then they start being safe, all you're going to forget is the bad. Whereas someone like Vinny, if you watch his entire games, he'll try things, fail. And then one time it comes off and he gets man of the match. He's played unbelievably. Like, that's the narrative that surrounds him. But it's because he continuously tries to do things, and he's got that mentality that he knows he's good enough. If he just keeps doing it, something's going to happen. And I think that's the sort of, that's especially in this system where you're going to feed the players and give them Kaz and Kayaz. Yeah, but how would you say I pronounce them then, Stefan? Like Quaz and Kayaz? Like, that's what they obviously they're spelt differently, but they're very similar in terms of how I'd pronounce them anyway. Well, I guess, yeah, Quayaz and Kaz. But yeah, like, I think the importance of the goldfish trait is so heavy. I think one of Enzo and Caicedo have to start. And again, this is why James starts for me. If James doesn't start, then I think you do have to start Enzo. So I agree with that, because I think you need a little bit of like leadership in there. Will Asugo be back up for Caicedo next season? Yeah, let's go. Thank you, Kaz. Leave a like in the everybody leave a like. Everybody leave a like. That reminded me to give it a quick plug. See where we're at. We're at 25, but we've got 50 people in the building. So surely we can double that real quick. And if I refresh that in 60 seconds to 2 minutes, that should be on 50 likes. Please. It helps me out so much, just for the sake of clicking one button and leaving it for the rest of the stream. Please do drop a like. Bit disappointed by Abel for starting Esteval left wing, attacking mid. He started on the right, but he drifted over into like attacking midfield, and then he ended up on the left. So it was a little bit sort of fluid in that sense. But he did end up on the left for the large majority of the back end of the first half, and then he started the second half on the left as well. So yeah, that is true. So yeah, I hear it. Will Asugo be back up for Caicedo next season? I think he will, for sure. The only thing I would say is I think Asugo gets the least minutes of the 5. So just saying that because he's a backup for Caicedo doesn't mean that he plays every time Caicedo doesn't, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like you can't do Andre and Enzo or Lavia and Enzo without Caicedo if Caicedo's out. But I do think Asugo is the closest thing you have in profile to Caicedo and a destroyer. So like what I'm most excited about for having Asugo around and why I wouldn't loan him out is because I think he'll be so effective in games where you're trying to close out a game and you've got 20 minutes to just play and like come on and affect the game and just see it out and be a proper bruiser, because that is what he is. He'll come on, he'll run around. Like, it's a bit like when Gallagher used to come on late in games under, I think it was Lampard, or it might have been Potter. He used to bring him on later in the games. I think it was Potter. You bring him on late in the game and last 20 minutes, and it gives you energy. And those tackles, it's infectious. Energy is infectious. If Asugo's running around in the middle and he's the guy with energy and he's making last ditch challenges, like putting himself about when we're 1-0 up in the game, it makes the other team sort of lose a little bit of momentum, lose a bit of hope. It takes that away from them, and then it also gives you a little bit more of a jeer, and the players around them to give their all. So that's what I'm most excited about Asugo this season. I know it's artificial turf. Is it indoors? I think every Chelsea fan watched Esteval last night. Yeah, it's one of those things where everybody's been watching him for a while, haven't they? I had to watch the game for work anyway, but even if I wasn't, I would have watched it purely like for Esteval as well. So that's fair. And Mora from Porto, who I like a lot as well. What do you think of Walter May? Don't you think he'd play the palm role and we can use him as a target man against low blocks? I think he'd be coming in as a Jackson replacement as well. The only difference is with Ekitike and Walter Murder in terms of how it could affect Jackson is I think because Walter Murder could play, like, you could do a few different things with Walter, and he also wouldn't be as persistent to be a number one straight away. Whereas I think Ekitike, for the value for money and like where he is in his career in terms of teams wanting him, he would want to come in and he would want to be the guy. Whereas I think with Walter, you'd have him, Delap, and Jackson. I think they could somewhat coexist for one season a little bit easier. But that's not to say that Jackson wouldn't go if he came in. Sorry, I missed that bit as well, saying hopefully Delap gets a goal tonight. Roll, do you think Esteval will get rotational player coming off the bench for the last 20 minutes? I think he starts as just sort of like coming off the bench in games where you need a spark. He'll start a few games that are like sort of lower quality as well, like the cup games, a few easier games if you need to rest players. And then if he earns his march early, then he'll keep playing. And if he doesn't, then it's not too much pressure on him. So I think that's the ideal way to sort of integrate him. Honestly, the people are being very harsh on Esteval's performance last night. Yeah, I do. I think it was harsh. I think it was good. I don't think it was special, but I think it was good. Amy saying it is indoors. That's fair. Sugo probably will play early rounds of FA Cup and League Cup next season or start. Yeah, when I say he'll be like a rotation, I think he'll start those games. I just think in the bigger games, that's what I'm excited to have him. So I think even in the big games, he'll be important for those last 20 minutes. So I think that's a big sort of deal. If we sign Gittins, Ekatike, and Manyan, roughly how many more points does that get us, in your opinion? I would say if you add those three, and then I'm also taking into account like a slight jump that I expect in Maresca's second season, I would probably go somewhere around. Depends how many more though, because like I would say like we definitely breached 70, but that's not like that many more than we got last season, obviously. So let me have a quick look. Obviously, last season was 69. Season before we took that jump, 63. I would say 74. 74 would be my prediction. But I've got a lot of work to do through pre-season before I like fully sort of settle on something to do with that. Just joined Petrovic. Strop covered, people defending him, but if Enzo or Sancho had demanded to start like that, the fans would have absolutely plastered them. Yeah, I don't really know how to feel about the Petrovic thing. Like, I was always in the camp of I wanted Petrovic to come in and be the number one. If we sign somebody else, then okay, I can sort of live with it. If the idea is to still go in with Sanchez and Jorgensen next season and make no other moves to breach defenders, I'd be slightly concerned considering you had the chance to make Petrovic your number one. That would annoy me. Penders to start, I would absolutely love it, Kat. I would love it. Like that would be my choice. But I have a feeling they won't. Let's hope I'm wrong, because I would love to see him start. What will Maresca do with Jackson if Delap starts banging in the goals next season? I think he's just going to look to use them both against different types of teams. I think they'll both get a good amount of minutes. If it is just those two, let's just assume that we've not brought in Ekatike or Walter or anyone like that. Then in that case, I do think that they rotate quite well. If Delap starts banging goals, though, then it's on Jackson to earn his way back into the squad. And that's how it's going to work. Jackson will have chances from the bench, because I think that's something we missed last season. Being able to bring on one of those, like a different type of striker for the last 30 minutes. So even if you're not the starting striker, doesn't mean that you're not important to that match day, just because you're not starting. So I think both Delap and Jackson, I think that they could sort of dovetail quite well in that sense, because they offer different sort of qualities. So I wouldn't be worried either way, whether Jackson's doing really well and Delap's not starting, vice versa. Delap's banging in goals, Jackson's not starting. The only point I would start to worry is when something like big happens from that. But I think the competition should drive them both really nicely. What about Jackson on the wing? Yeah, we spoke about like it's a possibility, especially in this tournament. But let's see. I'm not too sure. Lloris in goal, yeah, for LAFC he is, yeah. Oh, bless you. To me. Then we should keep Jackson if we get Walter. Yeah, I think that's more likely than if Ekatike, for example. Transfer window is open now. Yes, it is. Opened, was it last night? I think at midnight. How many games do you think Santos will get at Chelsea? I think it's just a rough estimate. I think minutes is more to go by than games. I think that a lot of them breach sort of. I think all four of them, if fit, like Lavia, Santos, I think they can all get sort of. I think even the Santos and Lavias can get between 1,500, 200, 2,000 minutes still. Even with Casado and Enzo being like the primary. So I wouldn't be too worried about that until we see something to suggest otherwise. Just want to say, because we've got 63 people and I haven't refreshed. Please drop a like if you're new to the stream. You've only just come in. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to really drive the content this season. I'm trying to get to 5k subs by the end of June. So nearly halfway through June. So we're quite a way away. So any help that you guys can provide for that would really, really, really be appreciated. So yeah, please do drop a like. We're on 37 now. And we're still on 58 people watching. So surely we can get that to 50 minimum. Absolute minimum should be 50. Jackson needs competition. Yeah, I agree. I think he let himself down. Who do you mean, Kaz? Do you mean with Petrovic? Saying that he wanted to start as number one. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he should have been willing to challenge for it, especially if he knew that. I guess the idea was if he thought if Mainan's going to sign as well, then like that's ridiculous. But I think he should have backed himself with Sanchez and Jorgensen to be the bridge defenders for sure. So I agree. I love how Sarr compared himself to Canate. Excited to see how Maresca uses him. It's a good comparison as well. It's one that I remember saying back in January. So I like the comparison for sure. And I think it could work really well. So again, hopefully we see a bit of him. Sorry if you guys can hear that, by the way. Some background noise, some sort of building going on. Didn't Maresca play two strikers at Leicester, signed Daka and Vardy? Do you think he does it with Jackson Delap? I think it's something we could see late in games. I spoke about this before. I think it's something we'll see later in games where we need a goal. We might go to something a little bit more similar to that, where it might look like Jackson's playing in the 10, but it's actually two up front. I think Enzo and Palmer will get more chances to score since Delap. Yeah, and that's 100% correct. Because like I say, when those balls are coming into the box, Delap's box threat and the fact that he's willing to tussle with a defender, he's going to draw players towards him. They're not arrows. Which will then allow these runners to sort of, even the wingers arriving at the back post, to arrive a little bit more space than they would have originally. So 100% you're right there, Kaz. Think we should rest Palmer and start on Nkunku, especially if Jackson is starting up top? Well, I'm thinking Delap might start up top today, although I wouldn't be surprised if it's Jackson either way, like I say, but I would start Jackson against Fluminense. So in that sense, I would start Delap today, but we'll see. I'm happy either way. I think both will play tonight. I think even if one comes off the bench, like it'll be a 60-minute thing. I hope we have 3 strikers. I'll be more confident going into next season. Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you mean like another striker? I'm assuming you mean, because I think Guiu's going to go on loan to Ipswich, and I actually think that would be a really good move for Guiu, being like a top of the championship team who are going to dominate the ball, have a really strong chance of going straight back up to the Prem. And I think if he can be that guy for them, he's got a similar build to Delap in that sense. I think if he can be that guy for them, then it'll be very good for his development. So I'd like to see him I would like to see him move there. What do you make of Esteban off-ball movement? I think it's very good. I think he's very ghostly. I think his timing is very good at when he sort of moves inside to pick up the ball and sort of peels off to receive at the wing. I think his off-ball movement is great. I think he darts across the front post really well. We nearly saw it for the goal. Should he have left it for Rios? Was that a bit of a confusion? Who knows? But you can't doubt the movement. Let me just quickly shut the window because this is too loud. Too loud. Where are we at? Who would you take as a replacement for Nkunku next season? I want Rodgers. I want Rodgers as that left wing attacking mid hybrid. I think Nkunku is director's pick. Maresca doesn't trust him much. Yeah, it's probably one of those things where if you can play him in 1 or 2 of the games, even off the bench, maybe rise his value a little bit whilst there's still a market for him because still a few teams in for him already. So yeah, I agree with that. The reason why I like Esteban Paez to stay is because even though they're young, they have very high IQ in the final third, and that's sometimes some of our players struggle with. I agree with that, definitely in terms of Esteban, and I think Paez has it too. I just think with Paez, I would like to see him. I think there's more of a clear pathway for Esteban to get minutes because he can play on both the right and in the 10, and he wants that. And I think he's slightly ahead in that sense, like of sort of making inroads, whereas Paez hasn't played really for the last 6 months at Independiente. And I just think that he could really do with that loan at Strasbourg. And I just think it would just do better for him. And I think that, again, he's such a ridiculous talent, Paez, that I just think you want to do what's right for them both. And I think that it would massively, massively help him to be playing at Strasbourg next season. I think he'd smash it there. I really do. And I think it'd be so fun to watch as well. Hot take, Palmer's better off the right wing because he gets more time, space, and can create more. And I think he would start more off the wing if Chelsea don't buy a wing and we play a midfield trio. Firstly, I think the 4-3-3 with Palmer on the right is something we may see a little bit throughout next season. bit more than we have this year, obviously. However, I do still think his best position as the 10, and then having the ability to come outside and sort of either switch with whoever's the right winger. So if this is Esteval, I think this rotation is something I've spoke about for a long time, as something I really want to see with sort of that rotation between those two, because then Palmer gets the space that you're talking about out wide, but he still gets to operate in the pockets and get closer towards the box in a central zone, and he doesn't have to pin against the byline during the first phase of build-up, which is very important for me. I want Palmer collecting the ball in build-up because he's just too good to have pinned away from play. So that's sort of my take on it. But yes, the right wing thing is something we probably will see a little bit more this season, purely because of the amount of midfield quality that we now have. I'm getting old and jaded now, but having seen us waste so much money over the years, I'm sick of watching us buy players at their most expensive and then sell them for pittance a few years later. And that's something that we're not really doing now, isn't it? Really? Like, we're buying players at not their most expensive, or at least if we are buying them at an expensive value, they're literally like seen as some of the best prospects in world football that even minor success will pretty much keep their value. Like Enzo, some people would say Enzo, and I love Enzo Fernandez, but that his 2 years in between, like especially his Poch year, was really poor. People would say that half his year last season, like the start wasn't as great, but then really ended the season well. You could probably, from Real Madrid, you could probably still say that he's an £100 million player because of what you paid for him. So it's sort of one of those things that we've got him on a long-term deal, and I think it was worthwhile. Same with Casado. Yes, we overpaid at the time in the market. I do think that, but I think that's what you got to do sometimes, and I think it's worked out, essentially. I'm going to put that one straight out there. He's a winger. He's a touchline winger. I'm not saying he couldn't play as an overlapping fullback, like saying that he couldn't do it at all, like he doesn't have the capability, because he does. He's a good player, but he'll be a touchline winger. I'm very sure of that. Do you think Gittins will improve us? I think a lot of people are going to come to like Gittins a lot more than they do. We're going to have a sort of a scout files out on Gittins. I think it's at the end of this week that I'll have that ready. A bit like the TK one, if you guys saw that. If you haven't seen that, go check that out, because I think that's quite a good video, and I'm really big on TK, so I'd like you guys to check that out. But the Gittins, yeah, we'll get Gittins one out as well, but I do really like Gittins. I'm very big on him. Did you see Rodgers right? Yeah, I did. I saw that. I really hope it happens. I really do. I've been huge on Rodgers since he was at Middlesbrough. Really like Rodgers. Yeah, I just like his physical profile. I just think he's, as a central carrier, there's not many better in the league, especially like in transition. But either way, I think we lack that profile. Did that one? What's your take on Nkunku playing as a left wing attacking player and does well at Club World Cup? I don't think he would stay. No, I don't think it's worth risking either because of the work rate. To be honest, I think the best case is he does well. It helps us in the short term, and then it rises his value a little bit, and then we part ways, and it's happy both ways. One thing I just want to point out with this: do not be surprised if Nkunku goes somewhere and smashes it. Do not, because there isn't like. Nkunku is a very good footballer. He is very good. He's got a lot of brilliant qualities. He's very switched on in and around the box. Like, it hasn't shown at times, but let's not pretend that he's not like switched on in those areas. He is very good. He's a very good footballer. I just think the time has passed. But if he goes somewhere else, I'd be shocked if he doesn't actually do well. I think he will. Yeah, 100% Daniel, agree. I want Morgan Rodgers. I don't think passing in the final third, aside from Palmer, Pires is probably the second best on the team right now. Oh, you mean Pires? Now I watch a lot of Pires and really believe he's ready. We can integrate him slowly. Yeah, I don't hate it. Like I say, I just think next season I would love to see him at Strasbourg personally. That's something I've wanted to see for a few months. I've been wanting that, so we'll see. Do you think we could see Jackson left wing in this tournament because of the lack of wingers? Yeah, I do. I think it's a possibility that we see it. Whether we see it early, late, whether we see it sort of as a sub. Like, say, Jackson, let's say that this was the lineup today. Or let's say this was the lineup today with Jackson starting up front, George on the left, and you bring the lap on in the 60th minute. Maybe you could see it where George goes off, Jackson goes over to the left, the lap, so that you only see it for a little bit of the game and Maresca can sort of toy with it. That's definitely something that could happen, for sure. So it's not like I don't think it could happen at all. With Quendo incoming, one of Neto or Noni guaranteed to leave next summer. I mean, you can never guarantee anything, but it would be very you would think that one of them is sort of likely to be moved on. Yes, you would think that. I think Nkunku had a bad injury and might recover next season. Yeah, like I say, I do think he'll do well wherever he goes. Do you think there's enough room in a squad for Enzo, Santos, and Rodgers? Don't all three of them play best at the left eight? I think Rodgers would be playing off the left. I've said that. I did that in another stream, and I'll speak about it in a lot more detail in other videos. I'd be signing Rodgers as like the left wing / attacking mid hybrid. So yes, he would also play in that pocket at times, but it would be more for, I think he'd be very fluid on that side of the pitch with someone like Cucurella. And I think that they're sort of, especially in Maresca's second season, when hopefully there's a little bit more fluidity, I think Cucurella and Rodgers sort of intertwining and making overlapping runs for each other, sort of opening up gaps for one another. I think that could work really well. Oh, you mean if he stays at Chelsea? I mean, like, sure, the quality is there. I would never downplay the quality. But would he naturally drift inside? Yes. But I think, like I've sort of tried to say this a lot, I think everybody, because the touchline winger thing was really overdone, like, and I was one of them, because again, it's part of the analysis. When Maresca first joined, Maresca likes touchline wingers. I was one of the first people to say it. I was making the videos. The video did really well on YouTube, probably my best ever performing video about Maresca and how he sets up, talking about specifically touchline wingers. But it's very important that you realise that the touchline phase it's most important that they're on the touchline in the first phase of play, because the idea is that they're stretching the pitch, they're making this big so that the number 9 can drop in, but the defenders have to honour where they're stood. So it pins that back line, and it makes this bit of the pitch, obviously it opens it up, like this middle section. When you progress the ball into the final third, though, there is much more scope, especially in the second season, for those interchanging movements where he comes inside, the number 8 goes and follows and leaves himself on the left. We saw it slightly more on the right last season with Gusto, with Enzo on the right side. So that was last season, by the way, Jay. He did say that last season. I remember that. He said he's more of a striker. I remember he like sort of outright said it. But yeah. I had a look at the expected points between this season and last. Finished 4th versus 6th, and with more points than last season. However, our expected points, extrapolated into points, was actually higher last year. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what stats you've looked at in that sense. Like, do you mean like expected XG, like XG against versus XG4? But I think that's also because of the amount of chaos there was last year. I don't think it's close. I think we are much better this season, and a lot of the stats that I've sort of worked on have proven so. So I'm not 100% sure what stats you're on about there, unless it's XG4 versus XG against. So yes, it's interesting. Do you think it's possible that George and Gittins could be the only 2 people on the left wing this whole year? I think it's possible that they're the only 2 natural left wingers, but if you bring in someone like Roger, like it would have to be. I still think there'd have to be an addition like Rodgers or Kudus or like a hybrid attacker. That's what I think. Our team is too stacked. Maresca struggled last season because of that. He made unnecessary changes. I don't know. I think we'll see. I think a few people will get loans. Obviously, like Guiu, I think will go. I think there'll be sales like Nkunku. I think Achempong could be a loan. We never know, like Sarr and Selmino, like there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made. So yes, let's hope that, Daniel. But yes, let's see what happens first. Wukenda, Gittins, Esteval, one of Noni on Neto. No, one of Neto and Noni, Palmer and Pires. Is there any room for Rodgers? Yes. So I mean, Kenda, Gittins, Esteval, and one of those 2. That's your touchline wingers, like you said, the 4. Then you've got Palmer and Pires as, say, your 10s, but Pires is also a little bit of an 8 hybrid. So you've got 6 players there for essentially 3 positions, maybe 4, though, if you count the left 8 for Pires as well. So that's where someone like Rodgers can be your 7th, because then you've got Pires and Rodgers who can play as the 10 on either side. They can play as the left 8, depending on formation. They can also play off one of the wings. So like Pires can play off the right. Rodgers can play off the left. And again, like stacking things isn't really an issue for us at the minute. It doesn't seem to be something stopping us. And say someone like Gittins, Kenda, like Pires, anyone, they're never safe. They have to earn their spot. I think he will be as well, Jay. I think Achimpong and Ishe Samuel Smith will both be superstars. I think they are the perfect modern hybrid centre backs, like centre back fullback. I think they're modern defenders, unbelievable. He would be brilliant for left wing, yes. He's undercooked, but he's somebody that I've tweeted about a lot, saying I think he's got an explosion coming. He's one of those that I think is going to explode very shortly. When resting Kukurea, who do you prefer as the left back, Gusto or Reece? Either or. I think in this game, if they're both on the pitch, I would put Gusto over here. But actually, now that I think about it, now that we've said that, if it's going to be the left centre back, it actually could work better to do it this way today. Because I did say this for today. And then at times you can be a little bit more passive with Reece as the left centre back, and Gusto can be a little bit more sort of the energy. Imagine Gusto and Asugo in there. Like, that's the only thing is I'm not 100% for those two. The ability on the ball to pick passes and like hold the tempo, not pick the passes in terms of quality, but to hold the tempo and use pauser. I think that's lacking with these two. But the energy in there with those two would be off the charts if you want to like really take the game to a team, like today against LAFC. Where are we? What do you think will be Maresca's next tactical evolution for the team? Because I can't imagine that what we got last year is the finished product for this team. No, it's absolutely not the finished product, and it is very similar to what Luis Enrique last year. And I was saying that even at the start of this season, when people were saying that it was rigid. I was saying just like I was using Luis Enrique's PSG as a case study, and literally look how well that's done. So I'm very proud that like I use that as a case study so early, because a lot of people have again jumped onto that. But yeah, I've got a video coming out on that, so I'm not going to go too much into that. I've got a video coming out today, which is like a tactical guide to the Club World Cup. So what I think we'll see in the Club World Cup, and then I've also got a bigger tactical video, a Maresca's next tactical evolution video, which is going to be worked on a little bit more. And then that's going to come out at some point during the summer as well, which is going to be a huge video talking about how I think the second season of Maresca is really going to evolve Chelsea. So both of those videos, one coming out today, one coming out later, like again, much later. Check both those out because I think they're going to be good. What if we use Achimpong or Sarr as the left back? Achimpong wasn't in training, so I'm not sure. Sarr, I think he'd be starting as the right centre back or not at all, especially as like one of his first games. Remember when Josh played left back in the Conference League game? Yeah, he's an option. But again, like I just said to Sonic, he wasn't in training yesterday. So let's see. I would love him to start. I really would. If he was in training yesterday, he would have been in my predicted 11. But he wasn't. So I'm not sure. We should just go buy a backup left back. Keep an eye on Hato. I do think Hato could be very likely because he can play left back and left centre back. It gives us another centre back option as well. He's so highly regarded. The price isn't ridiculous. I would be shocked if we don't end up at least making a big move for Hato this summer. I would be very surprised. For me, Chelsea should buy Leao off the left wing and try Gittins for 45 mil. That enough depth for the season should get Hato. Oh, you said Hato as well. Leao is just to do with his off-ball work rate is the big sort of question for him. So let's see. But I like him as an attacking sort of talent. I've always have. Bring me Osman, if only, Stefan, if only. What about Anselmino? I think he could be something good. I do as well, but I think he really needs a loan. I really wanted him to go to Marseille under De Zerbi, but that never materialised. I think that would have been so perfect for his development. So perfect. Let me just quickly go back up because I didn't read this one. Why do you think ISS didn't get a chance last season? So he wasn't able to be registered on the B team because he was only signed from Everton. I think it was the year before, and it has to be 2 years. So he wasn't able to be registered for that. However, I am surprised he hasn't been registered for this tournament. That's something that could have been done. So that's surprising. But in terms of the Conference League, there was reason for that. I think a striker is much more needed than a left wing 10 hybrid. We have enough of them. Yeah, but do we have enough of them, Stella, when we get rid of Felix and Nkunku, we don't have a left wing 10 hybrid at that point. Once they're both gone, we don't have one at all. Why don't some of our fans rate Enzo Fernandez? He's my favourite player right now, but many want him sold. Yeah, it is very baffling, isn't it? That they still like. There was a point in time where like I'm one of his biggest defenders. I've been so big on Enzo since like his River Plate days. Like so like high on him as a midfielder. When Liverpool were going to first sign him from Benfica, I thought that was like going to be one of the best signings they could make because I'm so big on Enzo Fernandez and I've defended him But there was points, obviously, in the Poch season where it was harder to defend him because you could see that he was struggling. But again, it was much to do with his hernia and things like that. But now that he's still getting hate and like not being as appreciated as I think he should be, I do think that is baffling. Want a new number one goalkeeper? I think a lot of people do. If not my nan, who would you recommend for our first team keeper that's not at the club right now? I like Lucas Chevalier. I said that 2 seasons ago. It looks like Newcastle are now looking at him. City were looking at him at one point. He would have been before Jorgensen. I would have bought him last summer. He was my number one. So yeah, it would be Chevalier if I had to pick one. But I also just don't think if you're not going to get like a 29, 30-year-old who's an experienced goalkeeper like Maignan, then I would have kept Petrovic around. So that's another reason why the Petrovic thing is just baffling as well. We don't have enough for this season, but from next, yeah, I think that's true. I think that's I get what you mean with that in terms of having Kenda and Paez, Antonio Nusa or Kenan Yildiz. Are you asking me to pick between the two, or are you saying do I like them? Because I actually like them both. I think Nusa could be really special. And I think Yildiz is one of those. I think Yildiz for me, I like him a lot, but I think he needs to thrive in a system that is a little bit more like. I think he needs a little bit more chaos and a little bit more freedom. Now, would I take him and try and mold him? Like, is he somebody that I would just say no to? He's not. But I think he could thrive in a little bit of a different environment. Let's just put it that way. Like a little bit better. You think Chelsea should go for an experienced centre-back? There's not many on the market that I like, is my issue. Like, Gurhey is somebody that I like, and I think he has a good blend of experience. Obviously, there's issues elsewhere of height and physicality and like those effects. But there's not loads of central defenders that I think are attainable that I overly like. So it's tough to sort of be 100% one way or the other on it. Hating on Enzo is sad. He's the perfect number 8 at Chelsea. He's a world-class technician and is a bit nuts and likes to get under people's skin. What's there not to like? And massively important as well, Stefan, he's a leader. And we have been begging for leaders, and he has taken that mantle. He is one of, if not our biggest leader on the pitch. And it is so, so important because it cheers people up. And I said at the end of the season, it was so important to get in Champions League. Him, Cucurella, even Caicedo, Colwill, like that leadership, like Reece as well. Like it's so important. So important. It's so understated how important it really is. We're going to refresh now because I'm hoping we've hit 50. We are on 53. Let's go. Huge, huge, huge. I would 100% go for Diamande, by the way. I would pay that. I think it's worth the risk. I do. I don't know how many people have been following me long enough to know that he's like right up there on my list. And yeah, I agree with that, Stefan, as well. If you haven't left a like, by the way, we're on 53. I want to try push that towards 60 or 70 by the time we end. So please, please, please keep smashing the like button. It means a lot. Keep those questions coming in. We'll probably go for another 10 to 15 minutes. I think we're at the question part of the video now. We're on 55 likes. Let's keep that running it up, please. Drop some likes. Yeah, let's get through. How many signings do you think we need for first team for Chelsea next season? So we've already signed the Lap. I want 3 more minimum. But this is where I'm at because I don't think that all of them matter as much as one another. I think Hato will happen. I think Gittins will happen. I think both of them, I would predict they happen. And then I think the last signing either has to be like an Ekitike or somebody who brings a little bit more chaos and something different, or a Rodgers, someone like that. And I think that would be your big buy for the summer. I think the other ones are a bit more customary. I think you needed a striker like Delap, you got him in. I think you need another left winger because you sent Sancho back and Mudryk, so you get in Gittins, and I think that makes a lot of sense as well. And I think you need a left back that can cover. So again, if you're going to sell Vega, if you didn't sell Vega, then it could have been him. But because you are looking to sell him, he's not come to the Club World Cup, etc. Someone like Hato makes a lot of sense as well. So they're 3 players or like 3 moves I think you had to make. And then I think you've got a luxury move that I think we should definitely make because of Champions League. Also, I'd take Maignan as a goalkeeper signing as well. So, of course, I would take that. Do I think it will happen? I'm not sure. As much as people like Esteban, including yourself, it's very clear that he will not thrive next season physically and with this system. But with this time, I think the player will show. Physically, I think it just depends on how quickly he adapts. System, I think if anything, the system's going to suit him more because I think the fact that he will have more isolated conditions to just build himself up. And like I say, he's got that goldfish trait. He'll go at players. I think if anything, the system's going to actually help him to hone that skill set and not be so erratic and like wanting to get the ball in every position. Sort of like he does drift inside really nicely, but he has to be the figurehead of everything, and he's only 18 years old. I think he'll thrive more being sort of channeled into one area to begin with, because his talent will then show. It will shine through. What are the risks with Diamonde? I remember you asking for him quite a while ago. The risks are that he has still got that sort of like that head loss. There's that moment of head loss in him. And a lot of people like to sort of avoid that because, of course, it can cost you points if they make a big mistake. You can get a red card. You can give away a penalty. The odd pass can go astray. Things like that. However, I think when you've got a player that is so perfect aggressively, defensively for a system, he's also really tidy on the ball. Like I say, without you take away the odd mistake that he'll make, his ability to progress play, really, really good on the ball. Really talented. Fast recovery pace, can play in a high line, can be the aggressor, can even be the sweeper if he needs to. Played in a back three and a back four. There's so much to like about him that I think, especially the cheaper you get that price, the more likely of it being value for money and being a hit is right up there. Gio, I still think his passing range is better when he's deeper. I 100% agree. But I also think you can't deny that he's been good in the role. I think he's done well as a box crasher that Maresca's used him as. But I do agree. I like him when he drops into these spaces to sort of initiate and create chances for other people and be that progressor. I do agree with that. How different are Diamonde and Bade? Not overly. Like, I mean, I think Diamonde, again, I think he's just got a higher ceiling, like physically and on the ball. But Bade's a little bit more controlled. But I like them both. I think Bade, especially for France the other day as well, he was brilliant. In the Nations League, he was excellent. System will help Esteval so much playing with Palmer. 100% agree. Can we not put pressure on Esteval next season? He needs time to adapt in the Premier League. Let me know in the chat, right? Because I was thinking about this the other day. Do you think if Esteval doesn't hit the ground running in the first month, maybe month and a half, do you think Enzo Maresca gets the blame? Because I do. I don't agree. I don't think it will be Maresca's fault, but I can guarantee that fans will pin it on Maresca and say that he's ruined a generational talent. That will be the argument straight away. Let me know in the chat, because I'm intrigued to see what you guys think about that. Because that's something that came to my mind the other day. I think my biggest worry about Esteval not succeeding from the first like 3 or 4 weeks is that instantly fans will be like, we'll just turn on Maresca for it. That will be what people say. And I don't know if you're being sarcastic, Fuego, because there is not a way, there is nothing that could happen right now that would want me to get rid of Maresca. Like, I'm so content with him as the manager. I think he's so perfect for this crop of players. And I think the way that we're playing, I think the way we're progressing, could it change next season if I don't see slight adaptations in certain areas? Yes. But everything I've seen so far is like top tier suggestion for me. Like I'm very happy with him, and I was happy for him throughout the season. Because I saw a lot of things that, like I said, I think a lot of people didn't want to take into account. Let's have a little quick refresh for the likes. 58. We've got 63 people watching, so we should be at least 63. So I'm going to really quickly refresh that in, let's say, 30 seconds. Going to quickly check I haven't missed anything news-wise. Leave a few messages in the chat, some questions. We'll get through them in a second. I'm going to refresh this in 30 seconds. Hopefully we got a few more likes and we've hit 60. Because we're on 58. We've got 64 people watching, so surely we can run that up a little bit. As it really does help us out. What's Fab saying? Florian Wirtz on his way. Yeah, so it's pretty much all the Wirtz stuff coming out. I don't think we've missed anything in the time being. Don't think we've missed anything. Let's quickly catch up. Do you think we can sell Nkunku, Zhao, and Sterling? And if we can't, how should we use them? Sterling, I don't think, even if we don't sell him, I don't think he comes back. I think he's loaned somewhere abroad. Nkunku and Zhao, I think Zhao will go to Benfica. Again, whether it's a loan or permanent, it depends on how well we can negotiate. I think Nkunku leaves on a permanent. I do think somebody will pay up for him. Our fans want a new manager every season. Yes, they do. Unfortunately, that is true. As well as Maresca has done for us, there will always be people having agendas. Yep, for sure. I agree, seeing way too much of people blame the manager for players' form. Yep, 100%. Maresca is the perfect manager for wingers. Our system feeds the ball to them a minimum 10 times a game. 100% Stefan, something I've been advocating for so long. That being a winger in this team, you should be licking your lips. If you've got the goldfish trait and you play in this Maresca system, you are going to have a field day. Why don't I do watch-alongs, right? Because, and I'll get to this, by the way, I haven't just ignored you before you go. I'll go above, but this is just quickly to answer. The reason I haven't done them yet, and I might do some throughout this tournament if I have the chance. The reason I don't is because I do so much work throughout the games. Like my primary job, I want YouTube. I want this to keep progressing, that I can do way more on YouTube. And the more that I start earning from YouTube, the more I can do for you guys. The more I can do watch-alongs, the more I can do things like that. But I have to sort of bide my time separately. And during games, I do a lot of analysis work for other people. So I write for websites. I do sort of outsourced analysis. I write for other YouTubers and things like that. I have to write things throughout those games. So I need to be very focused on the game and I need to take notes. And it would be hard to be entertaining and answer the chat and do things like that during a watch along if I'm having to do that. But it is something that I've thought about doing at some point. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. But like I said, this is why I sort of always ask for to run the likes up and to subscribe. I just try to keep reminding people because I think the more we can grow this community, which I'm so happy with so far, but I just my aim was 10K for the end of this year, and it's going to be a real struggle. But I'm going to be trying streaming as much as I can. We've got the new equipment all hooked up, which I think has given a quality increase. Like people that have been here before, can you let me know? Do you think the quality is increased with this webcam and this microphone in comparison to what it was before? Because again, I'm just trying to scale up. Because then we can do so much more on the channel, which would be really, really good. Yeah. Fuego saying, nah, I'm trolling, mate. To be fair, but I'm skeptical on him. What improvements would you want to see from us for you to keep backing him well, though? So I was very happy last season because I knew that when you're implementing such a heavy possessional system, a positional style of play as well, possession-based, a team that was coming from playing a chaotic style of football the year before, a group of players that is very young, very no real leaders. I think the last thing you want to start doing is adding too many coaching details, and that's where it goes wrong because players get confused. They're easily confused because they're younger. They don't have the sort of turn of mind to put things right themselves on the pitch, and you need to build that character within the squad. So I think simplifying things in the first season was always going to be the key. And we started to control more towards the end of the season. The defensive record got better, even though nothing changed in terms of the defensive personnel, significantly. If anything, we was without Fofana for the back end of the season, and we was keeping loads of clean sheets. So I think that helps because it was continuity. Now, what I want to see this season, and we'll speak about this in the tactics video that I'll be working on for the summer, a little bit later down the line in the summer, is more rotations, more fluidity, especially in these sort of wide areas here. So on both sides, those triangular rotations where you can get wingers coming inside a little bit more. You can get the fullbacks, especially the fullbacks, because they do invert, but can they then attack as a number 10 at times? And could it mean that someone like Palmer gets on the ball here? But more importantly, could it do the opposite? And on the other side, could it be Enzo more often than Palmer? Because obviously you want Palmer attacking the box more often than not. So that's what I want to see. I want to see extra coaching details added. Is basically the short of it, for sure. Where are we? Why don't we see a right back who starts at right centre back in possession, overlap our winger? Who starts at right centre back in possession, overlaps our winger in the final third, the same way Ben White does for Arsenal. Well, that's kind of what Cucurella does when he starts left centre back. If we're against a team that isn't as aggressive, you will see Cucurella still overlap and make those runs from left back. But again, it has to be the dynamics on that side of the pitch have to be correct, because the idea is that when that guy goes forward, whoever's playing in that pocket has to be ready to defend just as much. Because if this player is out of position, say it's Reece or Gusto, whoever, and they're providing an overlap or they're supporting the winger, then it's up to their pocket player who's actually now got to protect this space, because this player's out of position. So if that's Palmer, you're maybe not as confident. Whereas if that's Enzo on the other side, maybe a little bit more confident. If it's Casado playing as like an aggressive number 8, or it's Cucurella, and you've got those sort of players ready to protect the pockets, then you're much more confident. So it's all to do with the dynamics of the team, who you trust to rotate in and out of those positions, and that's why the rotations take time to form. And at PSG, it's taken time because, again, Vitinha getting into these sort of areas, like he'll drop into here. Nuno Mendes will then push forward, but then it will sort of get to a point where Nuno Mendes can track back really effectively and get to the ball, and then Vitinha is good enough at slowing the play down, and he's got good protective defenders behind him who can cover the channels. So PSG have sort of maximised it in that way eventually, which has taken time to do. People blame Maresca for Palmer's dip in form, but stats showed he missed way more big chances than last season. Yeah, like if anything, he was performing. There was a point where he was actually performing just as good. It was just weren't dropping for him. And I think because it wasn't dropping for him when he was performing just as good, then it affected his form and he actually had a dip in confidence. And that's when the performance did get worse. So I think there was kind of two different sides to that story, but neither one of them were Maresca's fault as such. What does a three-man midfield look like? It could be literally anything. Like I said, this is just for tonight because David Coote saying why no Casado and Enzo. For tonight, I would like to see Asugo and Santos, and I'd bring Casado and Enzo from the bench. They've been playing for their national teams, and I want them to start against Fluminense because I think that is the toughest game in the group stage. So that's why I haven't started them tonight. Do I think they could start tonight? Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if we started so strong tonight, but I'm just thinking about how I would navigate the groups. Fuego, for sure it has. I'm assuming that's to do with my quality on the stuff. Because keep going, you're progressing, Connor. Thank you very much, Fuego. It's very nice to hear that, my friend. Thank you very much. In my opinion, Esteban will have a season like Savinho this season, and that would be a good season. That would be a good first season for me. Watch alongs with someone who knows how to watch football. I'd definitely be interested. Would learn so much from you. I appreciate that, John Lowe. That's something I'll look into. Like I say, the more this channel grows, the more I want to do stuff like that. So it's 100% something I'll keep tapped in. Maybe even do start a watch along series where we do a watch along and I have the tactics board up, and then like half time and full time we can sort of have a chat about the tactics and we can make it a bit of a series, and I can almost try and teach you and walk you through the analysis sort of process of how I analyze games and how I what I do for work essentially. So that could be fun if people want to see that. It's definitely something we could work towards. Don't know why Maresca doesn't play a conventional fullback. He did it in some games. When at Leicester, just play a flat midfield trio. We have done it at some games. We played a back four against Brighton, very flat, with Gusto as the right back, and he was providing width and going inside. He's definitely done it at times. It's just that it depends on who you're playing against and what they're going to give up. I actually think it's worse for us starting that way every single game. I think the inverted fullback gives you so much more protection, and we saw that towards the back end of the season with the control that we had in games. Like I say, it's a string that you want to have to your bow to be able to play conventional fullbacks at times, to play inverted at times, to play overlapping at times. You want that versatility in your squad, but I do think that optimal control is better the way that we have it currently. How can we stuff all of our midfielders into the squad? I think we're a bit crowded there. So you go sub for Casado, Santos sub for Enzo. So how about KDH Lavia? I don't think it's as simple as one's a sub for one. I think their minutes are going to be shared. I think if you're talking about the double pivot, you're looking at Enzo. I think the main ones you're looking at are Casado, Enzo, Santos, Lavia. They're the four that will get the most minutes. Asugo will be in and out. He is a sub for Casado, but it doesn't mean he starts instead of Casado. I was saying that at the start. I think Asugo gets the least minutes of the five, but I also think he'll be very important late in games. And hopefully he understands that's his role this season, and it helps him to develop. Because I think once he develops a little bit more on the ball, which can be done from heavy training sessions, that's especially why I don't want him to get loaned out. I think he can benefit from being around this group of technicians. Because as an actual bruiser off the ball, he is special talent. So special. Am I the only one that thinks we will play with more fluidity next season? Not at all. I 100% think that. Thank you, Fuego. Fuge. In my opinion, yeah, I said to that, I think I agree, and I think that'd be a good season. Where are we? Fairs would like to see the same level of detailed tactical developments for us to hang at the top and compete. I hope the ball backs in properly, and next season we can see a more comfy top 4 finish. 100%. That is exactly what I would say too. Can you speak more on Dario Sugo? Don't know too much about the fella. I've got a video on the channel. Go off this afterwards and go find it. It's a Dario Sugo player breakdown, and I did it when we signed him back in February or whenever it was. Go watch that because that will give you the ins and outs that you want to know. What I will just say off the top, like now, as like a basis for you, absolute bruiser. He's Casado-esque, but he's also just built even like broader and like stockier. And he is just like the first time I ever saw him, it was Portugal under-17s. I was watching Portugal under-17s, and I actually saw, I think it was Vega in that game as well. But I was watching it for Asugo because I was doing some scout profiling on him specifically. And I fell in love. Him as a player, even from that point, like you could just see the defensive mid fundamentals he have are just they're through the roof. They're really, really strong. For next season, do you think it's possible to play Lavia, Casado, and Enzo in the same lineup? Yes, because I think Casado could still play as that right back going into midfield. So I think you could do it that way, where he starts as a right back and becomes that. I also think, again, it's possible next season that we could see Palmer starting on the right and those three as a midfield three in certain games. Not in every game, but in certain games, I think it's possible. What do you think about Sugo's ability to potentially play inverted right back? I'm actually unsure because I've just not seen it. Like, physically, I think he could do it. On the ball, like, I'm not 100% sure. But again, a little bit like Gusto, I think he's got the mobility that you want for that position. So it's possible. Let's see. Let's see what Maresca thinks. I think it's one of those ones that you need to see it in action. But like his physical profiling, I wouldn't say that he couldn't do it. Just gutted we couldn't get Gittins. Love the guy. I'm huge on Gittins, and I do think we'll get him. I do think we'll get him. Actually, I'm also worried about the number of midfielders. All of them want to play in the World Cup next year. Like I say, Asugo, I'm not as worried about. I think he'll be very willing to play his role. Lavia, we know about his injury history, so can you protect him a little bit more? Andre's obviously the one that you need to like make sure he's getting good enough minutes that he sees his value in the team. So let's see how that goes. I'm confident Maresca will find a way, but let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. I'm going to take the last few questions now, by the way, guys, because it has been an hour and 15. I need to record another video today, and then I need to do some other sort of like admin bits, and then I'll be recording. I'll be analysing the game later, live, not on stream or anything. I'll be doing it for work, and then after the game, I might hop back on another stream to talk to you guys about the game. So busy day. So if you do want to see that, let me know in the chat if you want to stream after the game tonight to speak about the tactics that we saw. And also, please drop a like if you want to see that, because as I keep saying, if we can keep hitting like 100 likes on these streams, it's on 67 at the minute, but usually when it goes out as a video, we get a few more likes on it as well. Please drop the like if you haven't already, because it really, really does help me out so much more than you guys realize. Last few questions. The main new fluid rotations I want to see is the Vitinha-Mendes dynamic between Enzo and Cucurella. 100%. Both of those, Palmer and Esteval, bang on. Two rotations and two coaching details that I have specifically said myself that I also want. So 100% agree with you there, Seb. About centre forward position, should we keep any of the ones coming back from loan, like Broja, David, Fofana? No. I think they're just all under the level. I don't think they're going to get the minutes that they need to become the level. So I think maybe David Washington goes out on another loan. Broja and Fofana, if you can sell them, you sell them for me. And I liked Broja. I think before his injury, even to this point, I think if he could stay every single game, like he could become something. But I just think he needs minutes. I think if you can sell him, it's probably worthwhile. Don't understand the people who don't rate Gittins. He's Barcola with a year or two behind in development. It's different slightly, just because Barcola's got that long-legged nature that sort of gives him access to different angles. But Gittins is like level-wise, I think Gittins can explode. I've said that a few times, and I do agree with you that I think people that don't rate him, I think they will come to rate him very soon, and we'll have a video on the channel, a scout files on the channel about Gittins very, very shortly for you guys to watch. Last message we're going to go for, because my throat's starting to hurt a little bit. I need to rest it before another stream later. Really want to watch the game with you, but it's 2 a.m. in my time zone. Keep up the good work, man. I look forward to your analysis. Thank you very much, Hock GS Contrang. Thank you very much for the support. I appreciate you, and I hope you enjoy the analysis, which will be out tomorrow, like I said, anyway. So you won't miss it. You can watch it tomorrow. All good. Leave a comment to let me know what you think about it tomorrow instead. So we're on 68 likes. Can we get 2 more likes just as we close out the stream? Can we hit 70? If there's 2 of you in here that haven't liked the stream, just really quickly help me out. Drop a like, and then you've done your bit for me to help me out. And I'd really appreciate it. Really feel bad for Bro. I thought you'd become our Costa. It is unfortunate. I think if he didn't get injured, I think he could have been something much, much better. And I still think he has the potential. I just think he needs to go away and play somewhere every single week. We've hit 70 likes. Thank you, everyone, so much for the support. Every time I asked for a like goal, it felt like you was really scaling up for me and helping. As I keep saying, really helps me out. Leave any questions on videos. I will always try and get back to you as much as I can. And follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. Subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. And I will see you guys with another video out later today, so keep an eye out for that. And then also a stream after the game and videos tomorrow. We're going to be grinding. We're going to have videos and streams every single day, pretty much. So keep your eyes peeled. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'll see you guys later.